Well, wonderful. Thank you so much, Christina. My name is Jamie Kelly, and I am the Director of Certificate and Non-Degree Programs at the College of Liberal and Professional Studies. And I am also the academic advisor for students in our Data Analytics Certificate and Leadership and Communication.
And my name is Christina Trosian. I am the advisor for all of the other certificate programs. I recognize many of you here, so welcome. And I'll pass it on to my colleague, Jackie.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jackie Candido. I am a staff member here in LPS. I'm a senior director of online learning, as well as an instructor in the LPS online program. So the ORG-C 2010 virtual collaboration course is one that I've co-developed with my colleague, Joe Schaffner. So over to you, Joe.
Thanks, Jackie. Hi, everyone. So, like Jackie, I'm also LPS staff. So, I am the Assistant Director of Instructional Technology and Operations on the Learning Innovation team, but I'm also an instructor of ORG-C 2010 Virtual Collaboration. So, I'm excited to share a little bit about that course with you folks today.
And we'll hand it right over to the two of you.
Sounds great. Thank you. So I'd love to throw out this question to you to get your brains churning around this topic of virtual collaboration. I'd like you to think for a minute about whether you've ever received a message that you misread, or whether somebody you know has received something from you that they misunderstood. So think back on that. And if you have a minute, please put in the chat, how did that make you feel when you misread something or someone misunderstood your message?
So, I'm already seeing a really great variety of responses. I see annoyed, twice, irritated, confused, embarrassed, frustrated, concerned, confused slash frustrated. I've been there. Anxiety, yes, confused, angry. This is a great variety of responses, and I certainly have been there too. Terrified is another one. So yeah, that's a really good mix. Helpless, worried, hopeless.
Yeah, those are all really great responses. And it just goes to show you that in this world of virtual work and digital communication, sometimes it's hard to understand each other. So let's go to the next slide. In this world of virtual collaboration, we're talking specifically about digital body language. So just like when you're face to face with somebody or even on Zoom, you can tell kind of what people are thinking. You know, you get the wink or you see the annoyed expression, and your body language says a lot, and it infuses tone into your voice and the words that you're saying. That is totally missing in the digital world. So when you rely on a text message, Slack chat, or an email to deliver your message, there's something missing. And it is the tone that's missing. You are depending on the reader to put that tone in for you. So when that happens, you can misread it. Their intention might have been totally innocent, and boy, they didn't mean to upset you, but the way they wrote it really came across all wrong to you. So, and it can happen to all of us. Sometimes we rely on maybe a text message, which makes things maybe sound a little more urgent than an email, you know, so format can make a difference. Timing can make a difference. When you send something at midnight or at 9 o'clock after hours, people might react and think, oh my God, this is urgent. I better get online right away. So the other thing that really stresses us out these days is the need to be brief. You know, we all know people don't read. They don't read your email, they don't read your text messages, or they skip it or they miss it. So not only do they not read, sometimes they misread. And so we do try to keep things short. But sometimes, in an effort to be brief, we ruin the whole tone and meaning of the message by not explaining ourselves a little bit. So I'm going to give you one quick example so we can move to the next slide. So in this quick example, the left side shows you a couple of messages. One just says, "Can you send this?" And the next one says, "Can you please send this when you have a chance? Thank you." And as the reader, I may be in putting in that tone, but that first message came across as, "Can you send this?" And if it came at a bad time, I might think, "Oh my God, I have to drop everything and really, get on this because this person really needs it," especially if it's a supervisor or a colleague who is like in the middle of something. So not only is it the wording that you're sending that gives the reader the message, but it's also the formatting. So you can see the difference here with the exclamation point, the question mark, the wording. I added a please and a thank you, so it doesn't sound so urgent and so kind of mean, like just send this to me. So formatting, timing, wording, these small things really, really can make a difference. So in the class Org-C 2010, digital body language is just one of the topics that we're going to talk about in the class. And I'm going to turn it over to Joe, and he'll lead you through more examples and activities.
Thanks, everyone. So like Jackie said earlier, with online communication, we are still sending signals like we would in face-to-face interactions. So like Jackie referenced before, describing those questions, "Can you send this?" versus "Can you send this, please? Thank you." Responses to questions convey a similar tone depending on how they're phrased and how they're timed. For instance, "Fine" versus "Sounds good, thanks." Fine sounds kind of dismissive, a little like you're closing off any further communication. It sounds like you might be a little annoyed, versus "Sounds good, thanks" is warmer, it's more inviting. Even if somebody is asking you to do something, you're still, expressing gratitude for including you in a collaboration, right? It's a completely different attitude to the same exact situation, right? So, with this in mind, I'd like to go to the next slide to talk about a longer form of communication. So imagine you received this email. The subject line itself is already giving me a little bit of a cortisol spike. Urgent, need help now. So I want everyone to take a moment to read this and answer these questions. What tone do you perceive? What assumptions might you make? And how would you respond? So take a moment to read it. And in the chat, share some ideas. They could be responses to these questions or anything else you might want to observe. And after you do that, we'll discuss what you've discovered. So I can see the writer seems desperate. That is true. I think the I don't want to speak for you folks, but I feel like the all caps and the multiple exclamation points really do convey that sense of panic. The writer is not thinking clearly and is rushing, right? That anxiety, that stress is palpable, and it almost feels contagious, right? It's like the person is saying, "Hey, I have this situation that's an issue for me, it's a problem for me, and I'm handing it to you to take care of," right? And it's conveyed through their use of punctuation, their use of capitalization, their word choice. Okay, so presumptive and demanding. That's a really good one too. You know, it's important. This is important, and I need it ASAP. The ASAP comes across as very demanding. The writer is overwhelmed. I see some folks talking about how it's disrespectful, unprofessional. I like this comment. The emojis make it sound like a desperate cry for help, but they could have used polite words. The emojis, for instance, when I look at these emojis, I kind of read it as somebody is trying to kind of almost like make light of the situation, like they're trying to backpedal a little bit. Like I know it's an imposition, but also like it's kind of I'm trying to be lighthearted as a way to kind of bring you in and to kind of, get you to do this thing for me. Um, a good question here, is this a colleague or my boss? It's not clear, right? From this context, it could be either, and I think that does raise a question. If it's your boss, would you respond, is this appropriate versus if this is a colleague, right? I think an argument could be made, perhaps not, perhaps, collegiality is kind of a, universally, should be displayed to everyone. It appears as if the writer has procrastinated. Right. So I feel like I'm picking up on a theme here. Everyone is seeing something like there is this sense of panic, this sense of urgency, and also this sense of a lack of responsibility, right? Saying, hey, I expect you to take care of this for me. I need it ASAP. I think the disorganized element and the procrastination element are pretty important too. When you consider how, the data should be in the shared folder, but not sure if it's up to date. Well, you're asking me to do this thing for you, but you're not providing me with the adequate information to help you out, right? Um, so, so thinking about how you might respond, I'm just checking the chat to see if anyone has offered anything. But if someone's able to I can see a more current chat, how might you respond to this? Um, and you feel free to, if you already shared it, you can copy and paste it back into the chat. I somehow empathize with this person, would help them. It's very generous. Um, so, you know, yes, not very well thought out, forcefully expecting a result. So okay, so Leanne, can you sh send the shared folder location? So asking a specific question, right? I think one of the things that we're going to talk about in a few moments is assuming positive intent, right? So this person, and some folks in the chat said they do feel kind of empathetic towards Alex, right? And so, you know, if you can say, okay, maybe this person is panicking, maybe I can step in and show them some compassion and say, okay, let's try to kind of orient them towards getting the job done. What can I do to help them? Ask them for something specific. Can we have a brief call to clarify what you need? That's really important when you think of the medium as the message, right? Maybe email isn't the appropriate format for this kind of communication because it's such an urgent issue. So there are a lot of really great responses here. I'd like to move on to the next email to kind of consider the same questions, but a slightly different context. So again, take a moment to read it, and in the chat you can respond to these questions, and we can discuss. So again, so what tone do you perceive? What assumptions might you make, and how would you respond? The tone sounds very informal, right? And consider the context too. Welcome aboard, new guy, right? There's an assumption there about the person's gender. That is kind of presumptuous. There is this sense of almost like what we think of as breeziness, right? It's an attempt to be personable, right? But it comes off, as Aaron mentions, as unprofessional, right? It can be considered dismissive in parts too casual. The first email should not be like this, right? So there are specific features of the email that convey this type of unprofessionalism or this breeziness. The hey with the multiple Y's, the opening up with just wanted to drop you a quick note. If this was your first time writing to a new colleague, would you, phrase the opening of your email to them in this way, or would you like to be more, kind of inclusive and welcoming, saying, hey, thank you we're so excited to have you on the team. I just wanted to introduce myself, would love to help you, orient yourself to the job, things like that. Um, also I thought that was interesting too. They are handicapped. That comment there. There's an issue with inclusive or a lack of inclusive language, right? Um, so meaning that, when we're communicating, virtually, we might want to consider the words that we choose, what meanings they might convey, what tone they might convey, and whether or not they are, insensitive towards the person or to other collaborators we might be engaging with. So there's a lot here to unpack, and in the course we go into this very in depth. We even discuss things like the use of certain phrases in an email like this. Things like on board, can't see what you bring to the table. Those are figures of speech, idiomatic expressions that might be unfamiliar to someone whose first language isn't English, right? They might, if we're thinking about collaborating with folks globally, which is very common in virtual collaboration, we need to be intentional about the words that we choose. Are they clear? Are they direct? If the person I'm writing to is their primary language is in English, might they be confused by the words that we're using? There's a lot to consider, and you folks have given us a lot to think about in the chat. So I just wanted to thank you all, and we can move on to the next slide and just summarize some of these points before we open up the floor for questions. So I hope that the big theme about this whole exercise is you need to be intentional about your tone, your word choice, how you use punctuation, capitalization, the timing. It all matters. It's all the things surrounding your communication that conveys meaning in a way that facial expressions might in face-to-face interactions or body language might in face-to-face interactions. Use emojis carefully. Sometimes they're appropriate, sometimes they're not. I think context matters significantly with this. Assume positive intent. To think back to the first email example with Alex, you want to make sure that even if somebody comes across as panic or dismissive or rude, you try to work with them and you try to orient the conversation towards something productive, asking for some specific information. Um, and then beyond that, don't leave room for guessing. Be very direct with your language, and then match the medium to the message. A great example from the chat was somebody said, "Hey, for that panicked email, we maybe a call is more appropriate. You can hop on Zoom, you can hop on the phone and talk to the person and kind of figure things out." So I just want to acknowledge time here. I know that Jamie wants to go through a few more slides before we go through Q&A. So looking forward to chatting with you folks after that to see if you have any questions. But thank you.
Thank you so much, Joe, and I'll be brief so that we have time for questions. I do want to mention that the course that was featured in this mini lesson is part of the Team Culture and Collaboration Certificate, which can be earned by certificate students as well as students in our Bachelor of Applied Arts and Sciences degree. As you can see on this page, and my apologies, I need to press play so you can see. We offer 15 different certificates, and they are all featured here, as well as a Bachelor of Applied Arts and Sciences. As a Penn LPS online student, you can take individual classes with us or pursue one or multiple certificates, or as I mentioned, earn a bachelor's degree. All of these programs are 4-credit programs at the University of Pennsylvania. And we are showing our course guide here, which you can view on our website to look at upcoming classes that we are offering. You can even use the filter option to separate courses by subject or certificate area. And this is an easy tool to view which of your certificate's courses are being offered each term. Christina?
And now we're just going to take a brief moment to go over the Team Culture and Collaboration Certificate. So there are 4 courses required in the certificate, and they're all listed on the slide. Typically, we offer 1 course per 8-week session, so just be mindful of that. There are only 4 course options. So essentially, all of the 4 courses you see listed are required to earn that certificate, and you do need a GPA of 2.5 or higher to ultimately earn that. And we do have more extensive course descriptions on our website, but for the sake of time, we can move on to the next slide.
Thank you, Christina. So some important dates. If you are not a current Penn LPS Online student and you are interested in studying with us, we are still accepting applications for students to begin in Fall 1. You'll see the start date for the semester, or the term, I should say, is August 25th, and we are accepting applications for the certificate until August 15th. Something to keep in mind is that these courses are 8 weeks long as compared to 16 weeks. Therefore, they are intensive and require 10 to 15 hours of work per week. And we offer 2 8-week sessions in the fall and spring semesters and 1 8-week session in the summer. If you are a prospective student interested in applying to a certificate program, again, we're accepting applications until August 15th, and classes start soon. You can also, my apologies for not pressing play, we have our academic calendars you can see here on our website.